Good morning, everybody. So today we have the incredibly talented and knowledgeable me on our show, and Josh is here as well.
I was going to say, way to undersell it again, but I'll be selling it a little bit this time.
So Josh, thank you. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I feel like we should create like a bit of a show here. Like, this is like the Ellen show, but for health and fitness.
Yeah, Ask Abi. I like it.
Ask Abi, yeah.
Yeah.
We could get it going. We could get it going if we get enough guests on. So today is going to be all things gut health. So me and Josh asked you guys through Instagram about the questions that you want to, or the topics you want us to cover, and gut health was the predominant or the favorite, and then we asked you massively, huge. It seems like a lot of people do have a lot of gut issues lately, and hopefully we can tackle for a lot of those questions for you guys and be able to give you a little bit more context of why things might be happening the way they are, and give you a bit more clarity so that you can actually improve that gut health as well. So let's jump straight into it.
Sounds good. You go first, or?
Oh, all right, I'll go first.
You go first.
I'll go first. All right. So the first question is, does the bacteria in my gut influence body fat?
Good question. And my answer would be absolutely it does. And I'll go straight to a study, a fecal transplant study. I don't know if you're familiar with this one, but basically, I wouldn't really volunteer myself to be involved. They took the feces of fat guy, feces of skinny guy, and they implanted that into each other's body. What they found was that the skinny person immediately gained body fat and really struggled to lose that. The fat person lost body fat, became quite lean, and maintained that. So what that shows us is that your microbiome, or that environment of bacteria within your stomach, does dictate the amount of body fat that we have. And it does kind of counter that argument of calories in, calories out. That is still a fundamental principle that we should focus on for fat loss, but it's not the be-all and end-all. Our stomach bacteria or microbiome, that environment or that world that exists within our gut, is extremely important. So yes, bacteria does influence body fat.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. Like, there's I think it's a Greek philosopher, Hippocrates, who basically said all disease begins in the gut. And I mean, even back then, they knew that the quality of your environment internally here, especially like, as Josh said, the microbiome, which is your gut environment, the quality of that's going to dictate what happens in the rest of the body. Because as we know, that food is absorbed and digested and broken down all in this area here. So it's got a direct reflection of the bacteria that's going to happen in this area. And that's going to infiltrate to the rest of the body. So if your gut is fucked, then the rest of the body is going to have a really hard time trying to perform all the functions that it needs to survive and to break down food and to think and to move and all that sort of stuff
And
as well.
just to let alone break down body fat as well, that's going to be kind of the last thing your body cares about.
Yeah.
If your gut bacteria is messed up. Now, just out of interest for the viewers, you were involved in that fecal transplant study, were you not?
Yeah, I was the fat guy, yeah.
You are looking pretty lean now. So.
Yeah, but then I wasn't. So I've got the skinny guys thing in me, so that's why it's happening. Yeah, it was an interesting one.
A little side note, how ripped off would you feel if you were the skinny guy in that experiment? Like, you volunteered to get some fat guy's poo put inside you, and now you can't lose weight.
Yeah, that would suck.
That's shit.
That would suck. Depending on what you got paid. I mean, I got $50.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Pretty good. It's a good deal. It's a pizza, that.
First question that I have, sorry, just go through some nudes here. Alright. I'm eating really healthy but bloating really badly. Do you have any suggestions?
So when, I think you might be attest to this as well, a lot of people do try to contextualize food groups into good and bad. So when I say, I'm eating healthy, cool, chicken breast, broccoli, or whatever the deemed healthy term is, can still create intolerances. We can still absorb and create bad bacteria from those particular groups, and we can still have a negative influence on our microbiome, regardless of how quote-unquote healthy it is. Because, I mean, look at the rise of, or the deterioration, of soil over the last sort of 50 years. Like, most things are sprayed with pesticides, herbicides, etc. So is your food really that healthy? But at the same time, that we've got to understand that the bacteria coming from, say, a chicken breast, it's going to be very different to the bacteria that's coming from, say, a donut. But at the same time, like, that bacteria from the chicken breast can still have a negative influence on our gut. So just because you're eating healthy doesn't necessarily mean that your body's enjoying what you're eating,
And just to add to that, what's healthy for me and what's healthy for you might be completely different.
Yeah,
like
donuts all the way. All the way.
So broccoli, like chicken and broccoli, as you said, is probably known as like a staple healthy diet. But I know for myself, just as N equals 1 study, I can't eat chicken breast without getting bloated. Now, chicken's supposed to be really healthy. That's great. It's not healthy for me because my body doesn't agree with it. or it doesn't agree with my body. Broccoli causes gas in a lot of people. Broccoli, cauliflower, potato, all these things that are pretty notorious in like a bodybuilding diet can cause some flare-ups. So a lot of people, they ask me questions similar to this, like I'm eating this particular diet, it's really healthy, it's paleo, but I'm unable to break down the foods, or I'm feeling really bloated or gassy. What's going on? Like I'm eating healthy, I'm not cheating. And the fact of the matter is the food simply might just not agree with you in particular. So my suggestion here is to take a food log or a food diary, which is what I ask all of my nutrition clients to do. It's really simple. You write down what you've eaten. So 7 a.m. I ate this for breakfast. 1 hour later, I want you to write down if you notice you got any symptoms. Now that could be brain fog, lack of mental clarity, you feel fatigued, you feel bloated, you feel gassy, whatever it might be. If it's something tangible that you notice that's affecting you in any way, you write it down. And over the course of a week, you might be able to say, hey, every time I eat broccoli or every time I eat potato, I get this symptom. And then what you would do is remove that for a week. Do you feel better? Do you still get that symptom? Yeah, no, it's gone. Symptom's gone. Probably keep that food out of your diet for a little while, let your stomach kind of heal and repair, and then you can slowly reintroduce it and see if you're still getting those symptoms. And if yes, again, they flare up, I probably just wouldn't include that food in your diet, even if it's spinach. Spinach might not work for you. So just because it's deemed as healthy in society, it may not be for you.
Yeah, and I think we need to get, especially in today's society, 50, 100 years ago would have been very, very different. But now where we're at with the sort of crossover a lot of cultures, we need to sort of get out of this paradigm shift of trying to deem healthy and unhealthy. I think we need to incorporate a lot more flexibility with people, especially in Western society. Eastern society might be a fair bit different. I'm not spending enough time over there to figure that out, but Western side is very, very different. Like we do have access to, as I said, there donuts, cookies, pizza, ice cream, all these sort of things, and obviously good quality food as well. For me, and what I say to my clients is try and create some sort of flexibility, because food's not necessarily, there's a quote by Dr. Brian Walsh, and it's, you are what you eat, digest, absorb, and don't excrete. Something like that. I think I wrote that. You are what you eat, digest. Oh, I remembered it too. Fuck yeah. And don't excrete. So essentially all the stuff that's still internally is, I'm going to be an actor, is going to influence the rest of your body. So food's not just necessarily healthy or unhealthy. You've got to look at the palatability of it. You've got to look at the your socioeconomic, so your socioeconomic background of, you may have eaten a specific food with your family as a kid and loved ones that you've got this really positive fucking influence towards. That's going to also have a positive influence with the bacteria that's created in your gut. More bacteria creates good bacteria, creates more good bacteria, and vice versa. But if you, for example, are on a bodybuilding diet, again, we always go back to chicken, broccoli, it's just a staple, but you fucking hate eating chicken and broccoli, it's not going to be as beneficial for you because you've just got a negative association towards it. And as we know, stress. Energy and frequency. Yeah.
That stress about having to eat that chicken and broccoli, and particularly in the world of bodybuilding, at this exact hour of the clock is going to make your whole digestive process just, for lack of a better term, fucked. It's not going to be as efficient as it should be. It's certainly not going to be as relaxed and parasympathetic as it should be, and you're not going to digest that food. If you are stressed, the last thing your body wants to do is digest whatever you're putting into it. It doesn't want to eat, because that whole fight or flight or stress response is really beneficial. Back thousands of years ago, when you're running away from a saber-toothed tiger, nobody ever was mid-run or mid-flight from a saber-toothed tiger and stopped to eat a meal on the run. Our body doesn't work like that, so you need to be in a relaxed state. So if it's something that you hate eating, doesn't mean like there's some healthy foods that we should eat that are healthy for us that we don't necessarily like, but if it's a repetitive thing and you really hate it, and every time you got this meal coming up on your menu you stress out about it, probably don't have it, because you're not going to digest it well, and you may end up bloated just simply from the fact that you're stressed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that was said there, like, creating that balance is important. I mean, you may have a family meal every single night. You work your ass off all day. You may have a family meal at night, and that family meal might be fucking spaghetti bolognese or a lasagna, a homemade lasagna, or wherever it might be. That social environment is going to be way more beneficial for you, especially in the long term, than, again, consuming something you probably just hate because you feel you have to.
Yeah.
As we know now, especially in today's day and age with the knowledge that's out there, like, we know that we can manipulate our macronutrients and our calories and our food choices. We can manipulate those, so put them in your favor rather than thinking you have to follow this thing because this bodybuilder or this influencer said that you have to, because it's complete fucking bullshit if they said you absolutely have to consume this particular food group. So it just doesn't exist. So find balance. Right on, brother. All right, next one. So we got, should I be eating dairy, gluten, wheat?
Now, again, kind of follows straight in from that one. Does it agree with your body first and foremost? So if you follow that food diary process and you find that you have no symptoms related to dairy, you can probably eat it. But the fact of the matter is at least 65% of the entire population of the globe has a limited ability to actually digest lactose. 65% is a large percentage. If you look at Asian countries, so if you look at the East, it's it's actually more than 90% can't digest dairy. So the human body may not be that efficient at digesting lactose. The ability to digest lactose really efficiently or really quickly leaves our body. So if you stop eating dairy for a little while and then you reintroduce it into the diet, you get bloated 9 times out of 10. It's because your body's already stopped producing lactase, the enzyme that we need to digest lactose. So I'm really curious as to why the body so readily lets go of lactase, as in it doesn't need it anymore, and it might be the fact that we really just don't need dairy in the diet. Now, for the most part, people eat dairy because they believe or they associate dairy and the calcium is going to be good for your bones and good for your teeth. And many studies now have shown that the countries with the highest dairy intake actually have the worst bone health. So the most cases of osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, fractures, you name it. So the dairy that we're getting is not actually benefiting our bones, and for 65% of the population, you can't digest it anyway. So I would suggest you don't need it. Now, I still like to allow just a little bit of dairy for those who can tolerate it, so that you don't lose the ability to produce lactase, because there's going to be an event. You'll go out and have dinner with a friend, you might get pizza or a burger or something eventually, and you're going to need that ability to digest that little bit of lactose that you're introducing, because otherwise you're going to never enjoy going out. You know that you're going to get sick. In terms of wheat or gluten, I think that, again, if you can digest it, definitely eat it, include it in your diet, but just be aware that wheat can definitely fuel what is called leaky gut syndrome. Wheat is quite an abrasive substance for our body, and when it gets into that digestive tract, it can rub on the gut lining and eventually create some pores or holes which allow nutrients to leak through. So be mindful of that with wheat.
Yeah, I think you hit I'm going to say yes.
Yes.
That's how I'm going to answer that.
A simple no would have been fine.
Yeah, just be really wary of what you're eating. Like Josh said, the perfect thing to do is to take a food log. Nobody really knows the exact food that's going to work best for you or not, but by taking that food log, you have a better idea of your own body, a better understanding and more self-awareness of your own body. And if it feels okay, you can digest it fine, you're full of energy, you're not lethargic, wherever it might be, then by all means go for it. But just take into account what Josh sort of said with things like wheat and even with dairy, with the lactose as well. I mean, at the end of the day, like as you said there, with the high populations of consuming dairy, we'll look at the quality. We'll look at the quality of the soil. If the quality of soil is shit, then everything else through that chain, going through to the grass, to the cow, to the milk, is going to be shit as well. That's why I always try and advise free range organic where we
can. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Where your finances allow as well. And sometimes it's worth just paying that little bit extra, because this is the only vehicle that you have for yourself your entire life. So I think I have the next question on here. Let me just find this one. If you could only choose one fruit and one vegetable for gut health, what would they be and why? One fruit and one vegetable.
One on one. As you sort of touched on before, I think the best vegetables, or the one that you can eat most frequently, like your broccolis and cabbages and things like that, can create a lot of gut issues. I mean, they have a higher rate of sulfur in there, and that's generally what contributes to that. But for me, is that more of a scientific answer or a personal answer?
I think that's more a personal answer. It's going to be anecdotal to the person.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it doesn't feel good for you, for example, I can eat bananas sweet, really good. If I put them in a smoothie,
well done.
Yeah, I'll pause the round of applause. But if I put them in a smoothie, fucks me up.
Right.
Like messes me up.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know why. If any of you know that, please leave a comment below. I'd love to know why, because I love banana smoothies.
No idea.
But I think it's the one that's going to work best for you. If it's looking from a scientific, factual perspective, if that's the answer that you want, the one that you enjoy most, I would go for, and the one that works best for you. So if you love broccoli but it doesn't feel great in your gut, probably shouldn't eat it. So go to the next one. Might be green beans, or might be cauliflower or carrot, whatever it might be. Work your way down the list. But if I was to personally choose one, vegetables. mean, they're not that exciting, to be honest, in my opinion. So
that'd be none.
Vegetables, I would gladly not ever eat a vegetable again in honesty, unless they're roasted. I dig roast vegetables.
Okay.
And it could be any of them. So a mixed selection of roast vegetables for me. A little bit of garlic, cracked salt on there. Mixed herbs on there as well. Beautiful. And if it was a fruit, and if I had to choose one just to eat for the rest of my life, at this moment in time, it would be probably watermelon. Yeah, I dig watermelon.
So my answer to the question would be whatever is in season. So we need to really eat seasonally. So the issue with frozen fruits and vegetables is not that the fact that they're frozen, it's the fact that they are available during times a year that the earth is not actually producing them. So I'm a big believer in eating to the season, and I think one thing that kind of proves that logic is if you look at the disease and illness rates of, say, Native Americans, the Maori people, the Aboriginal people, before the agricultural era where people came over and kind of introduced new products or ingredients, wheat, legumes, whatever it might have been to the land, things that could grow year round, when in actual fact that land didn't do that before. I think that's when a lot of diseases started to occur. It's certainly a lot of autoimmune diseases. So I think if you, and you can totally Google it for whatever country you're in, but if you look to the season and what fruits and vegetables are available at that time of year, so in Australia at the moment, pineapple is actually in season, and spinach crop is quite good at the moment too. So right now, as of this point in filming the video, that would be my choice, like spinach and pineapple. However, I think it's important to acknowledge that for gut health, we need a diverse bacteria, so lots of different bacteria, and limiting yourself to just one out of each category is not going to allow for diversity growth of a healthy gut population. So to answer your question, spinach and pineapple, but to actually have really good gut health, you should be pulling nutrients from everywhere you need to feed bacteria in our stomach, and essentially we'll have a healthy relationship like that.
And that's one of the reasons, as Josh mentioned, on especially healthy bacteria and lots of different strands of bacteria. That's why it's important to be very diverse and have that variety with your food sources rather than eating chicken or beef or fish like every single day. It's important to have that variety in there so that bacteria can really be create a really good environment in your gut. Because remember that bacteria and in your gut is going to influence the rest of your body. So if that bacteria is negative and you've just got certain strands of bacteria, you're going to be more susceptible to illnesses, autoimmune issues, intolerances, and things like that. If you were to choose one fruit and vegetable, what would it be though?
Mine was spinach and pineapple.
Is that like legit, or is that because it's in season?
Go back, like I said at least.
I'm an editor, so I don't believe you.
And just a final point on this is a lot of people spend a lot of money on like prebiotics. We're going to get into probiotics at some point in this, but a lot of people spend money on prebiotics, and essentially what that is food for the probiotics you're taking or for the bacteria in your stomach. Now, you can save that money by just eating a variety of foods because you're going to get the nutrients for the bacteria by choosing things lots of different foods at once. My favourite fruit and vegetable, dickhead, if you just want to know, is I would have to say probably watermelon as well in terms of fruit.
Yeah, you fucking fruit.
And if we can call sweet potato a vegetable for the sake of this, sweet potato.
Think about starchy ones.
No, get your own.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. I'm gonna stick with roasted. Number 3, does peanut butter contribute to leaky gut?
So any food can contribute to leaky gut if eaten in excess. Peanuts, certainly yes, they're one of the most inflammatory recorded known foods. The reason being is that peanuts are high in what's called phytates. Basically what phytates do is they act as like a magnet. So the peanut is trying to protect itself when it is in your digestive tract. What the phytates do is they grab all of the water, vitamins and minerals, fats and proteins that are in your gut at the same time, and they pull that in to try to kind of shield the peanut from getting digested. So your body loses a lot of nutrients that it could be taking on to A, repair its own gut in terms of this leaky gut that we're covering, and B, just to fuel exercise and performance and digestion and sleep and all of that. So they're really high in phytates, and they're also really high in lectins. And now what a lectin does is binds to sugar and protein or amino acid molecules and essentially becomes like a hand grenade and just goes boom straight into the wall of the gut there. So if you're eating a lot of these, you get a cumulative effect. You get a big build up of phytates that are robbing you of nutrients, and then a big buildup of lectin that are basically attacking the walls of your stomach. What basically happens in leaky gut syndrome is, if you imagine like a normal gut is healthy and sealed, eventually over time as we start to eat away at the walls, it opens up and becomes more porous, so more permeable, and our nutrients and foods that we're actually ingesting are then escaping through those holes and getting into our bloodstream before they've been properly digested, and this leads to a range of issues. Kind of the biggest takeaway is that autoimmune disease is very high in people with gut issues. What autoimmunity essentially is the body's own immune system attacking itself, and this happens because the foods that are leaking into our blood, so say it's red meat, a very similar profile structure, so the amino acid or protein profile structure is very similar to the body's own structures. So when our immune system starts to attack the beef that we've eaten, it then recognizes our body's own tissue as being similar to beef and then decides to start attacking that as well. So it starts attacking your body. You might get joint pain, arthritis is very common, things like that, muscle pain, muscle weakness. A lot of people don't associate that with the foods that they're eating, but in actual fact that can be one of the number one causes. So peanut butter is not, or peanuts are not inherently bad. They do have bad things in them. Just eat them in moderation. And again, if you start to notice that you're feeling bloated or distressed or anything like that through the food log that you've no doubt started by now since watching this video, then I would remove them from the diet. But keep peanuts to a minimum for the sake of those phytates and lectins. And yeah, just be careful of eating excess of anything.
Start my food log now. Meal 1, cookies. Is that bad?
It's good. Peanut cookies?
Peanut butter cookies. God, that was a really good answer.
Oh, thank you.
I like that. I learned a lot there. As Josh sort of said there, that when we look at the digestive tract, we've got what we call the alimentary canal, or alimentary canal, however you want to pronounce it. Essentially, it's the tract that goes from your mouth to your anus. So that's the loop that your food's going to go down. Generally, after food's getting broken down the stomach, it's going to go into the small intestine where most of the absorption has, and that's where the intestinal villi are that Josh spoke about, where they become more permeable. And it's not just the good bacteria, but it's also things like toxins, and if you've got gluten allergies and things like that, those things are getting through, and those things are allowing to get into your bloodstream, and that's where leaky gut happens. But when leaky gut happens, and correct me if I'm wrong, is generally it's down to excessive stress, whether that is from overeating, a lot of shit food, but also undereating as well. I know that a lot of my female clients specifically who have suffered with leaky gut is predominantly from undereating. Because as we know, when we undereat, we create a sympathetic or a stressed response. This gut starts to get real fucking stressed out, and it stops being able to absorb the foods and nutrients that we want. So the brain basically goes, okay, I need to send a signal from here to the bowel gut intestinal region. You need to open up because I need to get nutrients into you because you're undereating. I don't have a lot of energy to play with, because it's you're essentially starving your fucking body. And then that's going to open up those villi, as Josh spoke about. Jazz hands. Those villi Josh spoke about, and then food's getting through that. So whether it's overeating, undereating, or even if you're just in a massive stress state where cortisol's jacked up, that's going to contribute somewhat as well.
Yeah, for sure. So there's that physiological stress, there's lifestyle or mindset stress, and then there's this. Yeah. And then there's that food-related stress as well. So from eating those foods that don't agree with your body or can cause damage to your body. So yes, stress is a big player.
Yeah.
Now, can too many supplements affect gut health, and what is your staple stack?
Ooh, staple stack, and can it affect gut health? Yes, I guess it can be, it'll especially affect the liver, as the liver sort of is our body's major detoxification organ. So depending on the quality of supplement, if you actually need that in the body. I think a lot of people, as we briefly sort of inadvertently touched on, with prebiotics, people sort of turn to supplements as the solution, as the answer, whereas if they just focus on figuring the fucking baseline out of the foundation, you'd eliminate 90% of the supplements and you'd save yourself a hell of a lot of money. Supplements aren't necessary at all. You can get everything you diet. What do you think they did 1,000 years ago when supplements weren't even a thing? They just ate normal fucking food, and they're probably healthier than we are right now. Definitely me. That's why I do the fecal sample study. So yes, it can definitely contribute. It definitely contributes to having negative. Again, looking to the bacteria of the supplementation, it can definitely have negative associations with your gut. That being said, going on the other hand, away from supplements aren't necessary. Are there ones that can be beneficial to you? Yes, they can be. If you are really feel you need supplements, go get a blood test done by your GP and find out where your deficiencies are. Because if you've got things like magnesium deficiencies, zinc deficiencies, or whatever it might be, you can supplement with those just to try and drive those up a little bit. Like I supplement with fish oil daily, purely because I don't eat oily fish and I don't like oily fish. So that's a good way to get the right amount of omega-3s and 6s into my diet for optimal brain, heart, organ function, etc. So if I was to have I guess a stack, and we're not going to touch on protein powders in a stack because I don't see them as a supplement. I personally see them as more of, I guess, a replacement or a
powder.
Yeah, food powder. As soon as you take a chicken breast, blend it up, protein powder.
Yes.
Somewhat. So I would look at, generally, if I'm going to guns ahead, absolutely advise them. I would look at getting a good quality fish oil. If you don't eat oily fish, you do eat oily fish, don't even worry about it. I would looking at getting probably some sort of greens powder. Unless you're vegetarian or you eat a lot of vegetable, because I find that most people don't get a lot of vegetables and fruits in their diet. Most people. So if you to get some sort of greens powder as a substitute, I think that would be a really good idea. And I think that'd be it. I mean, maybe a multi, just try and all-purpose cover everything. And that's more of a looking at it from an outside perspective without doing any test examinations or anything, or blood tests or anything like that. That's what I'd say.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I think you can't out supplement a bad eating plan. So you have to get your eating plan in check first. Make sure you're covering your macronutrient requirements, so proteins, fats, and carbs, and then you worry about your micronutrients. You should be getting those through your meals, through your fruits and vegetables, and even through the meats that you're eating itself. Can supplements affect gut health? 100% yes. So as we spoke about just before, stress influencing gut permeability. Think about taking a pre-workout. You're basically megadosing something that gets your body super sympathetic, so in a super stressed state. And if you're taking that before every workout, eventually, your gut's going to sort of give way a little bit because you are always jacked up and stressed. The colouring in supplements, if you think about your branched chain amino acids, even your proteins, is totally unnecessary. Like if it tastes the same, it does the same thing. Won't even bother with colours. Doesn't need to look pretty. The colouring fucks your gut up. So if you think about like antibiotics killing off your good bacteria, colouring does the same thing but without the antibiotic effect. So cumulative effect of too many supplements introducing too many artificial colours into your system is really not good for your gut at all. So be really mindful of the supplements that you are using should you choose to use supplements. The ones that I take, I try to get those that have no colouring at all or just naturally coloured, whatever. So the greens powder is green inherently. And also those without artificial flavours. There's no proven research studies that show that artificial flavouring, as far as I'm aware of, that show artificial flavouring affecting your gut health, but I could only imagine it's not going to enhance it, so try to avoid that as much as possible. In terms of a staple stack for myself, I think glutamine is quite essential for gut health. It has been shown to kind of close off that permeability in the gut, so glutamine can heal your gut. It's obviously not going to be a be-all and end-all, this is the only thing you need to do and your gut's going to be better, but it can improve gut health. I like creatine from a performance perspective, so it's one of the most dumbass.
Yeah,
no.
I'd agree with
you were attacking it from health. I was looking at it the sports supplement side.
I want to say creatine.
Yeah,
I want to put creatine in mine.
Yeah, he would have. So 5 grams of creatine a day has shown really good performance and benefit, and cell hydration benefit, and also just allows the cells to uptake nutrients better.
Good for brain function as well.
Good for brain function, focus, drive. Take it any time of day. You just need 5 grams of creatine a day if you're training with weights, which you probably should be. So creatine, glutamine, fish oil, as Abi said, a really good brand if you are trying to search for which brand to take. It's the Ethical Nutrients brand. It doesn't taste amazing, but a tablespoon of that rather than the actual capsule. The Ethical Nutrients brand can tell you what boat caught that fish on what day, what fish they were, what batch number. So you can trace everything and make sure you're getting the best quality product there. Also a greens powder, purely for the fact that our soil quality, as Abi's mentioned various times, is just shit. So the spinach that you're eating now has about 5% of the iron intake, or 5% of the iron content that the spinach that we ate 10, 15, 20 years ago would have had. So something like that can help. Or at least it's not going to cause any harm. And that would be pretty much it for myself. So that would be a staple stack.
I think there's, I'm pretty sure it's examine.com, where you can put in the supplement that you've got and it'll tell you the quality
Yes.
of supplement, and it'll break down every compound in that particular supplement, and it'll tell you what it does as well.
Yep.
So that's probably a good idea if you're going to use anything. Go
check
to
it out.
examine.com and it tells you the quality of the brand as well, and if you're taking crap, basically.
Yeah, good idea. Check it out.
I think that's what it's called. How do I know if I have digestive issues?
Symptoms. Food diary. I think we've pretty much covered this one. But yeah, do you have any symptoms? Is your gut, are you constantly bloated? Are you not eliminating well? Do you feel brain fog? Do you feel lethargic after eating? Any real thing apart from feeling physically good and energized is probably a good sign that you have digestive issues. And one that you might not have thought of is chronic joint pain. Often it's not from exercise, it's actually from the foods that you're eating, as we spoke about with that leaky gut.
Do you think that a lot of people, especially Gen Pop nowadays, don't know how it actually feels to feel good and feel energized?
Yeah, for sure. And I've been guilty of that myself, like trying to persevere with the chicken breast, as I said before, which just doesn't work for me. And it wasn't until I removed that I was like, oh, this is what normal is. Normal isn't feeling shit all the time. Normal is feeling energized. And yeah, so if you have any symptom that you can recognize or you've noticed in your food log, that's probably a good sign that things aren't working at 100%.
Yeah, I think we need to do one on, and let us know, guys. I think we need to do a vlog on supplementation. Go a little bit more in depth about that and like certain ones and what do they sort of do for people. I mean, it may not be a particular long one, or we could put it on the back of maybe psychology towards food.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really fucking cool one to address as well, because as we sort of spoke about, there is going to be it's not necessarily better or worse. There's going to be more beneficial foods for you than others. For example, I'd love to touch on BCAAs and supplementation as well, and EAs and things like that as well. But there's more beneficial foods than others. But saying that, it's about creating like flexibility. Like I know for me, and a lot of it I think comes to your background and your eating and your eating habits when you're a kid and things like that. I know for me, if I stay like say 100% clean, good quality nutrients, things like that, after a while it starts to like fuck with my head, and I sort of get into this paradigm shift of like I can't go out, I can't go and eat something. I don't want to go out, and I tend to be very, very reserved.
Yeah.
As well, but adding like a bit of flexibility and doing little things like refeeds and stuff like that. And generally when I do, I'll have a couple of little things that I enjoy. I'll have, the cookies I enjoy. I'll have the pizza that I enjoy.
Banana smoothies.
I love the banana smoothies that fuck me up. And if anyone can figure that out, leave a comment below again. Do you know what I mean? Like, if I have that flexibility, I feel better. Psychologically, I feel better. Mentally, I feel greater cognitive function. I can still get lean off that. So the ultimate goal at this moment in time is still being pursued, and it's still being achieved. But I find that the more flexibility I have, the better it is for me.
Yeah.
Now, different people like Josh may be a bit more, okay, I like going like for a 90-10 split or a 99-1% or whatever it might be.
100-0.
100-0, yeah. But at the other end of the spectrum, like you can't go the below the 50% mark, or even below like the 70% mark, to be honest. You need to still consume good quality, high nutrient dense foods rather than calorically dense food, which is probably another sort of topic.
I think, yeah, just on that, like if you're so dogmatic about your approach and you have to be 100-0, clearly I'm joking, I'm more 80-20, 90-10. If you're so stressed about...
Do you even know what broccoli a donut is?
yeah, it's circle. If you're so dogmatic about it, and then the thought of going off your meal plan and eating a food is so stressful for you, the stress about just thinking about that food is going to be worse for you than just eating that food itself. The stress that I feel about eating a donut is going to be worse for me than just eating the donut. So just approach it in a relaxed...
Yeah.
Just enjoy the donut.
Just enjoy it. Just one donut ain't going to fuck everything up. It's
Yeah.
going to be amazing. Eat it, and send us one too. Don't be selfish. I think it's on you now.
Are probiotics necessary, or are they beneficial?
Probiotics, I personally have a lot of experience with people taking probiotics. So essentially, we want to take probiotics to increase the bacterial strands in the gut. Right, I know a lot of people do take probiotics. I'll touch on this, and then I think you can go a lot more in depth. But they take a lot of probiotics when they start to get sick, or when they start to feel a little bit run down and things like that. But what you've got to sort of imagine is that illness or that immune issue sort of come and stemmed from somewhere. So the way to create a lot of good bacteria, as we spoke about before, is creating variety and creating lots of. Whenever you shop, focus on variety and color. Lots of different strands of bacteria are going to come from different colored things like vegetables, like yellow peppers or capsicums, orange capsicums, red capsicums, green capsicums, broccoli, carrots, tomatoes, like lots of different diversity and strands of food. And that's going to help boost your immunity rather than trying to go, okay, I'm going to do whatever I'm doing, get sick, and let's take a probiotic to magically fix all these fucking issues, which ain't going to happen.
Yeah, no, that's...
But I think you'll be able to touch a lot more in depth about it.
Well, that's perfect. So basically the idea or the logic behind taking a probiotic, as you said, is to introduce more strands of bacteria, diversify that microbiome, and have more healthy gut bacteria available to help with our immune function, food digestion, whatever it might be, sleep, training, performance. But no, I don't think they're necessary, and I rarely, if ever, would get someone to take them. I think if you're having stomach issues, taking probiotics is going to be the last thing that's going to be beneficial for it. It's going to be the last thing that's actually going to bring it back. You need to find out why you're having stomach issues and correct that first. So let's just imagine our body or stomach as like a diesel engine, and it's now full of E10 petrol, so it's not going to function right. And then probiotics would be like that diesel petrol, but introducing them into an engine full of E10 is going to do jack shit until I get rid of all of that bad fuel, right? So chucking probiotics in on top is not going to do anything until we clean out the root source or cause of your problems. After taking a big course of antibiotics, so if you've been to the doctor, prescribed antibiotics for whatever reason, I think that you should go on a really controlled diet where you know that the foods that you're eating are going to be good for your stomach and help to support some diversity and new growth of bacteria. Once you've been doing that for a few weeks and you feel good, adding in a probiotic might help to diversify the colonies that died off when you've had the antibiotic. But no, certainly not necessary for you to take. And as I said, if you've already got a stomach full of shit, you need to clear that out before you can even worry about doing something like that. That would be like worrying like about supplements before you've worried about what you're eating or your macronutrients or anything. It's not the be all and end all, and it's not the thing that's going to flip everything and make you all of a sudden healthy.
Is there a situation ever that you would prescribe them?
Just like mentioned, so after taking antibiotics, go on the healthy diet for a few weeks, and when you start to feel better, it's probably a good sign that you can introduce one. For a month, they're usually 30-day supplies, just to kind of help diversify that colony and get everything started again, but that would be it. I wouldn't see a need to stay on it for longer than that.
Cool. Alright, so food feels heavy in stomach.
Sign of indigestion. Don't eat whatever food it was. Reduce calories if you need to, like reduce portion sizes if you're feeling that you're eating too much and then just feeling heavy and that you're not digesting the food. But yeah, I think this all goes back to keeping that food diary, noticing what food you're getting symptoms from. Is it a particular food that's making your stomach feel heavy? Maybe take that out for a little while and see if you still get that feeling. You might need to go to foods that are just really simple for a while. So even things just like white rice as a carbohydrate source and some minced beef as your protein source if you can tolerate red meat. I think one big thing here is people just don't chew their food properly. The more you chew food and break it down, the more surface area you give for your stomach acids to actually digest that food and extract the nutrients from it. And we're all guilty of it, but if you're scrolling through Instagram and shoving food down your face, you're probably not actually chewing it properly. And you're getting these huge boluses of food going down, and your stomach's going to really struggle to extract what it needs to pull from there. So I'd say chew your food properly, choose your foods wisely, and you shouldn't have a heavy feeling gut.
Yeah, as Josh has sort of said, like the main theme of digestion assimilation is to increase surface area of food to make big pieces smaller, so that the digestive tract can just break them down, absorb them much easier. What I have found in the past with people as well is that if you do have that heavy feeling, if you do have a poor functioning gut with certain foods, is try a different source of that food. So what I mean by that is, if you're having red meat, for example, and a steak, and you find that makes you feel heavy, try beef mince instead. Same with chicken breast. Try chicken mince or turkey and turkey mince. Try that, because if you don't chew your food, which most people just don't, as Josh mentioned, then it can help with digestion. But the underlying factor, you still need to focus on chewing your food in that parasympathetic state. So away from your phone, unless you're listening to this, because it's very chilled out, but still focus on chewing that to like a paste-like texture before you swallow as well. And don't rely on water, as in like trying to eat a little bit, drink some water. You should have no water, in my opinion, when you're eating, because it's going to take away from the fact that you should just be chewing it until a liquid-like texture anyway. Have water before and after, cool, but focus on actually chewing your fucking food. You'll be alright.
Perfect, very simple.
Yeah.
My last question, which I think is the most important question possibly of this whole thing, is what is your favourite Pokemon and why?
This is a great question.
It is.
Are you going to go first then?
You don't know Pokemon, do you? Now, clearly,
I do.
Without a doubt, it has to be a psychic type Pokemon, because they fuck everyone up.
Interesting.
They can teleport, mind read, you get a big ass fucking like Machamp coming at you, kill it like that. Super effective.
Well, which one would you be?
It's very hard. There is many, but I like Alakazam. I like sticking with the OG, original 150, and Alakazam just he fucks people up.
I like sticking with the 152.
Yeah.
It gets way too complex after that.
Yeah, just get shit.
So Alakazam, psychic. Mine would be Charizard.
Okay.
Because my spirit animal is a dragon. Like, for real, it's a dragon.
You just like to sleep in caves and just not exist.
Yeah, pretty much. I like to be mythical. No, definitely Charizard. He's huge. He's just an absolute fucking monster. He can fly, which is great. He's just powerful. Yeah, Charizard for sure.
That's a good question.
Yeah. Do you want to continue with mine, or I like that as a finish?
Yeah. Finish.
Yeah, cool. All right, guys, thank you so much for that. Hopefully you learned a little bit from mine and Josh's little conversation there. And if you did enjoy it, guys, please hit like, hit subscribe, and let us know what other topic you want us to cover. We're going to try and do this every sort of fortnight or so, where we sort of can. So we want to try and cover and give you guys as much value and as much information as possible. So throughout the week, either drop us a message in the comments box below or on our Instagram handles, which will be linked below as well, just so we can try and give you guys as much love as possible. It's so much easier, you guys just asking the question and just telling us what you want to know, because a lot of the times when we do ask and stuff, we get a hell of a lot of questions, but they're generally the same question. So we want to try and get as much broad spectrum as we can, a variety of questions, so we can help as many people as we can, because we may not have necessarily touched on your question today, for example, because it might fit into a category of bloating or whatever it might sort of be. So that's it.
Yeah, that's it. I'm happy with that.
Beautiful, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for taking the time for watching. Have a great day.